I noticed a lot of similarities, and you guys aren't alone. These are normal struggles. So nobody just picks up a diaphragm reed and just nails it on everything when learning to call elk. There is a learning curve. There are struggles. And I definitely saw kind of a consistent struggle across the board with a lot of the responses that we got. Hey guys, Michael Batiste from the Elk Calling Academy, where we help you shorten that learning curve so that you can find success faster out in the elk woods. On this channel, we do elk call reviews, gear reviews, elk calling lessons, tips, and tutorials just like this one. So if you're new to the channel, welcome, and please consider subscribing and clicking that little bell for notifications so that you know next time we upload a new video or we go live on Wapiti Wednesday. Welcome to the next chapter in the Beginner's Guide to Elk Calling. Now, a couple of weeks back, I made a post and said, what are some of the things that you guys are struggling with in learning how to call elk? I noticed a lot of similarities, and you guys aren't alone. These are normal struggles. So nobody just picks up a diaphragm reed and just nails it on everything when learning to call elk. There is a learning curve. There are struggles. And I definitely saw kind of a consistent struggle across the board with a lot of the responses that we got back. A lot of the responses were consistency, several comments about how to chuckle, knowing the rhythm when you call, and also kind of the structure and what to say in locating elk. So we're going to talk about some of those struggles in this video right here. So first off, consistency. So the biggest thing with consistency and what's really going to help with that is a couple of things. One, of course, obviously is practice. The more you practice, the more consistent you're going to become. But before that, you really need to make sure that you have the right diaphragm reed selected and that you have it in the right position in the roof of your mouth. So that's key right there. Most people, when they grab a new reed, they want to throw it farther forward in the roof of their mouth, and that's just where they're comfortable. So, because if you've never put a diaphragm reed in your mouth, the first time you do it, you're going to have a lot of saliva, and you may even get a little bit of a gag reflex. Don't worry, the saliva does go away after time. The gag reflex also goes away after time for most people, but there still are those that still suffer from the gag reflex. Now, we've talked about it on past episodes of Wapiti Wednesday Live Q&A about the proper position, where to put it in the roof of your mouth, because once you get the right reed, meaning it's the right fit for your mouth, and that's critical. So many people will just grab a reed and they can start making a little bit of sound on it, and they will really try to fight and force and make that reed work. But honestly, I'm telling you, if you find the right reed that fits the roof of your mouth, it becomes so much simpler. And what I mean by that is you don't have a bunch of air leaking around the diaphragm reed, so you really maximize the air that you're putting onto that diaphragm, and you can control it a lot better. There are a couple of drills also that will help with consistency also. Now this is going to do a couple of things, because one of the other common struggles that I heard was tongue pressure and air pressure. So this drill is going to help with consistency, but it's also going to help with that tongue pressure, air pressure. So there's two different drills. One is kind of geared towards cow sounds, and that's a high to low drill. And basically what it is, you're going to take a diaphragm reed, you're going to put it in the roof of your mouth, and you're going to put max tongue pressure and max air pressure. And we're using our diaphragm for that air pressure. We're tightening our stomach muscles and we're tightening our rib muscles onto that diaphragm to force more air pressure up. But we're going to start with that high note, and then we're slowly going to relax the tongue pressure and the air pressure so it's a steady fall all the way down. And it should sound something like this. Now, if the first time you try that, if it's kind of choppy, don't worry about it. Everybody comes across that. But as you practice that and you do that drill over and over and over again, you're going to find that that consistency just comes right down. It's nice and gradual. Now, while you're doing this drill and you start to get that consistency to where you have that just gradual fall, pay attention to how much air pressure and how much tongue pressure combo that you're doing on each of those notes, because that's going to help you. When you get into cow sounds and you want to kind of mix up your sounds, you want to mix those different pitches. You know the tongue and air pressure needed to get those. So the high to low is kind of geared more towards the cow sounds. Now, what about bugling and bull sounds? You bet there's a drill for that one too. This one is going to be opposite though, because we're going to start low and we're going to work high. But on this one, we're not going to have that gradual climb. We're actually going to stair step it and force ourselves to hold each of those notes. And it should sound something like this. Now, with each of those stair steps, I'm increasing my tongue pressure just a little bit, but I'm also really pressing on that diaphragm to force more air out, to kind of let that air drive that reed a little bit too. Now, the cool thing about this one is you want to pay attention to your tongue pressure and air pressure combo for each of those notes. So think of it as a house where you start in the basement, then you go first floor, second floor, third floor, and then attic. The reason that's critical is because once you get out there and you start mimicking bulls, or you want to do different sounds, you know exactly how much what the pressure combo is. So say you want to do a simple location bugle, first floor, second floor, third floor. You automatically know without thinking about it what the pressure combo is to hit each of those notes. Now, like I said, the critical thing with both of these drills is going to help with that consistency and help with that tongue and air pressure, but it's also going to help you with making sure that you have the right reed, because you have to have the right reed in the right place to have the proper air seal to be able to control the notes on both those drills. Now, the cool thing about these drills is this is something that you can do in your car while you're driving. You don't need a grunt tube for it. You don't really need anything for it other than just a diaphragm reed. Now, you know, if you played sports growing up, you always knew that you went to fundamentals. Pro athletes do the same thing. How many pro baseball players do you see that will go into a cage and grab that tee and do that fundamental work over and over and over, thousands of times? Same thing with elk calling. You have these fundamental drills that you need to do. I still do these drills on a regular basis just to keep sharp on them and to help with that control aspect. Now, one of the other things was knowing what to say. That's one of the things that we really cover in our private one-on-one lessons with our students at Elk Calling Academy is the different vocalizations, the cow vocalizations, bull vocalizations, what they mean, how to do them, and when during the year that you can use those. But here's one common mistake that I see a lot of people make, and that's the location bugle. A location bugle is nice and relaxed. There's no emotion in it. It's basically just saying, hey, where's everybody at? The mistake that I see a lot of people make is they don't pace that. They don't hit those three notes. They'll go from their first note to a skyrocket note, and think that they're doing a location bugle. That second bugle is more of a challenge bugle. It has aggression because it rises really sharp and gets to the max high note. So, tip for you, when you're doing your location bugles, just stay nice and relaxed and controlled. I know it's hard sometimes when the emotion and the excitement, you've got a bull going. It's easy to do. But you remember, most of the time when you're doing location bugles, you're still trying to locate elk. So there's not a lot of emotion come to play in that. All right, one of the other common struggles was chuckles. I can certainly understand this because chuckling is one of those things that really takes a lot to learn how to do. I did a video earlier, a few months back, on how to chuckle, and I'll post it at the end of this video if you want to go back and watch that. But here's some pointers of that video. With the chuckle, there's actually 3 parts. There's the note, your voice, and then breathing in. So, oh, oh. When you add a diaphragm tube into it, so when you're first learning to chuckle, do each of those 3 parts individually. So again, it's breaking it down to fundamentals. Now, once you have all 3 of those parts, now you can add the first 2 parts together. And then once you have those 2 parts consistent, then add all 3 parts in. Notice I'm doing it slow and controlled, making sure all of those parts. Now, once you have all of those parts in there, then you can start playing with cadence and speeding it up a little bit. Chuckling is one of those things that you need to get the fundamentals and the basics down and make sure you have all of the parts before you start with rhythm and trying to speed it up. Too many people want to just jump right into it and start chuckling fast, and they miss parts, they miss components. If you really listen to bulls chuckle, they have all of those components, and if you've ever had a bull close to you and bugling, you can feel that thump, you can feel that chuckle. That's what I think really adds realism into your calling. Chuckles are one of the things that when you're out there, if you're trying to figure out if it's a person or a bull, the chuckles usually are a dead giveaway. The other dead giveaway is the bass on the bugle. So, bull elk typically have a chest and lungs that are twice the size of ours, so us trying to mimic that. But chuckling is usually a dead giveaway. Again, you need to break it down into fundamentals. Learn the fundamentals first. So it's just like when we came into this world. We had to learn to crawl before we could learn to walk and then eventually run. Same thing here. Break it down, learn the fundamentals, learn to crawl. Then once you've learned to crawl and you have all 3 of those pieces individually, then start putting them together. Walk. Once you have that down on a consistent basis, then you can run. From that point on, you can adjust your cadence to whatever mindset that you're wanting to portray in your calling. Now, I know there's a lot of more struggles out there that people are dealing with, but these were the majority of the responses that I got from people. If you really are still struggling, you want to learn more, get a hold of us, send us an email. We'd be more than happy to set up a one-on-one lesson with you and work individually with you to help. You'll be amazed how it could just be a slight adjustment of where that reed is in the roof of your mouth or slight air pressure that can make all the difference in the world. As always, guys, thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate your support. As always, keep calling, keep practicing, and we'll see you on the next video brought to you by Elk Calling Academy.